Sorry. I'll get to you in a minute. I was just thinking about the idea of paying Microsoft a fucking monthly subscription to play Solitaire without ads on Windows 10.
It's hardly controversial at this point to suggest that Red Ash is one of the shadiest, dodgiest looking Kickstarter projects to gain widespread attention. Released with the goal of attempting to capitalise on the Mega Man Legends 3 resentment that saw Mighty No. 9 become such a crowdfunding success, Red Ash, the indelible legend, is an attempt to make lightning strike twice. Concept and Keiji Inafune haven't even released Mighty No. 9 yet, but they rushed ahead to get Red Ash funded regardless, with a goal of $800,000 that it honestly never looked likely to reach. In fact, over the near 30-day period a Kickstarter project has to succeed, the game only just made it past the halfway mark. There was a backlash almost immediately as people wondered why Inafune didn't wait for MN9 to come out and use that money to fund his next game, as most indie developers tend to actually do. It didn't help that Concept also wanted $150,000 to fund an anime of this game we knew nothing about, meaning they launched 2 Kickstarters at once because that was a good fucking idea. All this, and the fact people were already sour over Mighty No. 9's art style change and generally felt it was starting to look underwhelming, and what you have is one badly timed Kickstarter announcement. Another major issue was Concept being so terribly vague about the entire project. With an underwhelming prototype and little else outside of concept art to show for itself, folks had little to go on other than the promise that this would be the Mega Man Legends 3 substitute they needed. Apparently, that just wasn't enough, as people found that trading on nostalgia like this was pretty dang cynical. Trading on nostalgia for big-name Kickstarters is, of course, nothing new. It's what Yooka-Laylee, Bloodstained and Shenmue 3 have all done, but it seems that nostalgia has a credit limit and Concept spent all theirs on Mighty No. 9 already. Add to that the other sore points among potential backers: the fact that a physical copy of the game was offered to people who pledged a princely $89, the stretch goals that were released late and started to make people feel like they were funding a demo rather than a real game, and the $1 million they said they needed to bring out a PS4 version. And finally, just a few days out from the Kickstarter project's inevitable failure, Concept announced that it had already been fully funded by a Chinese publisher named Fuze. All the money already raised on Kickstarter, if successfully funded, would now go towards stretch goals and extra content rather than serve as the budget for the game itself. To say people felt like Inafune had pulled a bait and switch would be to put it lightly, especially since publisher contracts are not exactly quick 10-minute conversations, so it was likely this deal was long in place. The Kickstarter, rather than climb to reach the stretch goals, has actually been losing backers, and it's hardly a shock that it would, since people pledged to a completely different scenario than the one Concept unveiled now. People are now accusing Concept of scamming folks, of being greedy, milking fandom for extra cash, and, well, thanks to their utter mismanagement of the project from the start, I can't say the accusations are undeserved. Bear in mind, I'm not saying the accusations are true, just that they're deserved, because when you make your project look shady and sleazy, people are gonna say it's shady and sleazy, even if you've never had anything but the most honest of intentions. Like Shenmue 3's Kickstarter, the game has suffered from terrible communication and public relations in an environment where transparency and straight talk are the most important tools you have. Take it from someone who is crowdfunded. Vagary and discretion are not your friends, but those are the tools being implemented here. Fuck, with less than 5 days before the Kickstarter closed, Concept was unable to tell us what the stretch goals this suddenly repurposed Kickstarter drive was going to actually fund. And of course, now that we know what's going towards it, people are again severely underwhelmed. And you know what? I don't think dishonesty is the problem with this or Shenmue 3. I don't think a willful, deliberate attempt to mislead potential backers was ever the problem at heart. No, I think the real killer is pure, simple arrogance. These recent dodgy-looking Kickstarters exude a confidence that we're going to throw money at somebody just because of their pedigree and the nostalgic hole they're trying to fill. That confidence is what leads them to provide little more than tantalizing promises and vague illusions, because to them, well, that's all you need to get us frothed up into a frenzy. I mean, that attitude is justified by how successful hype culture in AAA marketing can be, but this is a different ballgame, and that old old-fashioned way of thinking just doesn't cut it. Yooka-Laylee avoided backlash because they had loads of quality-looking assets to show for themselves. Bloodstained avoided this kind of backlash because the team was open and honest from day one, with clearly defined ideas and stretch goals. These are developers who have a lot of experience working in the so-called AAA world, where tantalizing and illusions are the weapons of marketing. But you have to change what you're doing when you're going it alone, and you're not entitled to a fat wad of cash just because you are who you are. That might work for a while, but as Inafune found out, your name brand ain't an infinite resource. You need to get your head out of the AAA mindset and start thinking like an indie. You're asking for trust. A lot of trust. And while the big budget publisher world has found a way to accrue some trust without earning it for their pre-order culture, you can't really do that on Kickstarter for long. People get excited at first, but they soon want results, and if they don't get them, they're gonna get nasty. Brian Fargo delivered a belter in Wasteland 2. He and his team proved already that they have what it takes to give us what we want, and that's why he can pop out the Bard's Tale 4 and get that sucker funded. Why he can basically do what he wants right now because people's faith in him was demonstrably well-founded. But sadly, these developers actually earning our trust are going to have a hard time maintaining a Kickstarter profile if more situations like Red Ash happen, because fuck me if I've not already seen people saying how they've been soured on crowdfunding altogether thanks to Comcept's suspect behaviour. And that's what really upsets me about Red Ash more than the isolated objective project itself, the knock-on effect it has for crowdfunding overall. Because these are the stories that people remember, the mismanaged projects, the startling failures, the scams and the disappointments. And as a lover of Kickstarter, someone who has won over to the idea of crowdfunding due to the wonderful things it can produce, as someone who relies on it myself to make this very show, I'm earnestly, sincerely fucking disappointed in Comcept. Mediocre display, guys. Mediocre display. Now I see some of you preemptively making comments to this video, and I'm gonna stop you there because a small number of you, like a small number of you did on the Shenmue 3 video I did a few weeks ago, are going to point out that it's ironic or hypocritical that I'm criticising a crowdfund project while being crowdfunded myself. So I'm just gonna address you people directly. Now listen here, you cretin. I'm not criticising crowdfunding while being crowdfunded myself. What I'm doing is I'm criticising badly managed crowdfunding while running a very well managed crowdfunding campaign. That's the big difference, you fool. It's not hypocritical for me to talk about Kickstarter or Patreon because I'm doing fucking really good at it. The Red Ash Kickstarter is handled badly. The Jimquisition Patreon is handled very fucking well. It's the king of fucking transparency. It's the supreme overlord of success. I've been running it for almost a year and it's fucking brilliant. So that's the big difference. That's why I am perhaps more qualified than many pundits to actually talk about things like Red Ash and Shenmue 3. Because I know quite clearly, as evidenced by the fact that this show is still running and doing very fucking well, that I know exactly what I'm talking about. So thank God for me. Fuck Konami.